So welcome to the Krampusnacht after party. Hope everyone enjoyed it. I had a great time running it. We got some good questions, comments, all that lovely stuff. I don't know, should we recap kind of what happened in it, or is it short enough that we don't need to?
A lot of fighting.
There was a lot of combat.
It was definitely a dungeon crawl.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go through kind of a brief synopsis? Oh, man.
I think you should do it in Leland's character voice.
Yes.
Yeah,
Read it really fast.
As soon as I said that, I thought to myself, if they say yes, they don't know me very well.
Well, you did say you were going to practice to speak more faster.
I did, yes.
Which I thought was odd because I'm constantly told to speak slower. So we got this opposite thing going on.
We need to merge our speaking.
Yeah.
Meet in the middle. All right, well, here I go. I'll try and keep it brief. Basically, the party arrives. They are sent by Santa.
Santa's little slayers.
Yeah. They're flown in by Santa's reindeer on a sleigh. And they, a short walk through the woods, find this big factory, which they later discover is the Grinch's factory, the Grinch and Krampus's factory, where they're hatching a plan to try and foil Christmas once and for all. So the party makes their way through. They're ambushed by two snowmen zombies. And then they make it into the first floor where there's some elevators and sort of like a little workshop where these evil elves are creating evil toys. They make their way through that room to a smaller back room where we find on the one side was the
break room.
On the one side was the break room where they are able to get a short rest after slaying some of the evil elves,
Pacifying
some of the evil elves. My mistake. Next, you guys went and found the what turned out to be the Grinch's administrative office, and found some sort of blueprints there for these exploding toys, as well as the plan, which was to deliver all of these toys to the boys and girls and undermine their faith in Santa Claus, thereby permanently sort of destroying Santa, turning all the boys and girls to bad boys and girls, which Krampus could then take to the underworld to torture and eat. So next you went up the stairs and you found sort of like an office space for elves up there. Got attacked by some elves that were hiding sneakily. Although you did a pretty good job. Chloe actually was, if I recall correctly, the person who was primarily discovering these elves before they could get a sneak attack.
Made a hole punch.
Yeah, the 3-hole punch.
3-hole punch goes a long way if wielded correctly. And you also found a little dog, which you made friends with. Now, what did you all think of that dog? Did you make any connections?
He was my Christmas present, obviously.
Not until I listened back.
Immediately thought of the cartoon with the Grinch and his dog Max that he tried to turn into a reindeer.
It was Max.
Yeah.
Oh well, he's my Max now.
Yeah, so that was supposed to be the Grinch's dog Max. So that was fun. I liked that. And next you went into the Grinch's grand room and battled the Grinch as well as two of his toy soldier henchmen. Dispatched them quite handily. And through the massive ornate double doors, gilded, I might add, to Krampus's lair, the snow globe on top of the factory, and battled the one, the only Krampus. Did a pretty good job against Krampus as well. I mean, we did have a party member go down. Elena's Pam went down. That was
Pyra.
Who you calling Pam?
Pyra went down. I was sweating a little bit there. I didn't realize that Pyra's ape was so much less
Wait, all my animals were terrible.
less powerful than Falzarin's ape.
Well, yeah.
I was so surprised when
I'm like
when
level 5 or
in
6.
one turn the ape is just done. But I mean, still was able to eat up quite a few hit points that Pyra didn't have to take. Yeah, so then you conquered Krampus, saved Christmas. The whole building collapsed. You were able to get out in time, saving Max as well.
Barely.
Almost
forgot him.
There was some, I believe one of the party members was skipping on the way out.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
a
yeah.
little.
And that was basically it. The reindeers came back with perfect timing to pick you guys up and ferry you off back to Santa Claus to get your massive pile of gold and magical
And
items
candy,
as a reward.
right, too.
And candy. Lots of candy for Pyra.
I think what I want to do next time is have a full party of pacifist.
I'm game.
I mean, it'll be pretty role play heavy.
By the end of it, we did. Everyone was pacifying everybody. I will like to say that Bebop did not kill a single thing in that whole factory. Just
But he
Yeah,
left
that's
just
true.
a
Set it up
mess in
for-
his wake.
You did do damage,
Softened it
though,
up.
right?
You softened them up for us.
yeah, he
Oh, yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
hit people, but not lethally.
Do we want to bring that up?
Well, I
That-
guess.
Ranged objects. you can't say that it can't be lethal.
Apparently, Mike Caldwell pointed that out after the first part because it is a ranged attack. Yeah, non-lethal ranged attacks. But I mean, it's
makes sense.
doing
You can't-
bludgeoning. Okay,
But you can't really control. You're trying to throw it hard enough to get to them. And
are you
hit
telling
them.
me then Green Arrow's boxing glove arrow is lethal? That's not the purpose behind a boxing glove
I
arrow.
don't
If that's
know
what Bebop
anything
was
about
using,
Green Arrow, so
it
I
doesn't
don't.
matter. You don't have to know anything about Green Arrow. You just have to picture an arrow with a boxing glove on the end of
Okay,
it.
so rules
That
as
is
written
punching
are
somebody from 60 feet away.
ranged attacks cannot be
That
non-lethal.
sounds stupid.
Correct?
That's right.
Is that what I'm- So you put an arrow in your bow and you shoot
Right,
an
yeah.
arrow.
You can't
Can choose to
non-lethally
be
put an arrow
non-lethal
into
with it?
somebody. Exactly.
I'm just saying, that's my point.
No, you're not supposed to be able to.
Unless he has pacifist arrows that are non-tipped.
Yeah, it's a blank.
I'm gonna say that have a boxing glove on the end of them. It's doing bludgeoning damage.
So, like, you have a side of your shell that's, like, perfectly, like, if you were to chuck your shell like a frisbee, it's the perfect...
I think it'd be perfectly legit as long as the DM would make him roll with disadvantage because there's a big freaking boxing glove.
No. That's all worked out in the fletching, and all the aerodynamics are all worked out in the construction of it. That's not how that works. You're telling me every time Captain America throws his shield at somebody, he's killing that person?
He
That's
yeah,
right.
He
Didn't do
wants,
enough
he wants them to die.
damage.
That is,
Didn't
his
take down
shield
their HP
is
enough.
unlike anything else. It cannot be compared to your shield.
Excuse me, Bebop's shell is basically vibranium. It may as well be
May as well be
vibranium.
Well, I mean, this leads me to the point that John and Leland, I will say that I think Emily and I not once suggested Bill make any decision, but John and Leland like to lead the DM in a certain
didn't do
direction.
I don't
anything.
know what you're talking about. Absolutely not.
No, but I actually
Try
didn't do
once.
anything. John's just feigning ignorance, but I actually am innocent.
right.
The way you set up the question in the way is like the way you want it answered is obvious. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean,
Ridiculous.
with me, it's like taking candy from a baby because I'm just going to say, yeah, sure, sounds good to me.
I beg to differ. There is not a single piece of candy in that whole fucking factory.
Yeah,
Fire
that's right.
proved it.
I mean, it's true.
That is true. There was no
But you
candy to
know,
be had.
Bill's like, he's got half cover. What's half cover again? He would have eaten up any answer you said. He didn't know.
Yeah, it's funny. There were so many things that I forget from the multiple times that I've read the D&D books front to back.
Yeah, the multiple times.
Just
Yeah.
in the heat of the moment, it didn't come to me.
We forget.
Well,
Listen,
yeah,
half
but, I mean,
cover,
that was part of what we
three-quarter cover,
told
all
you,
that stuff all the
too.
time.
You didn't need to know.
Listen,
Yes.
One of us knows.
Discovered there's a help action, okay? How? Because I didn't read the books, so if you don't read the books, you're going off of what these three goofs teach you.
Well, wow, excuse me. Well, now everybody, for those who weren't aware, also knows that there's a dodge action.
Yeah.
So if you want to play a pacifist, it's fully viable. You just
There's a dodge action?
Dodge.
Well, I will admit that when Leland first said that, I was like, what the heck is he talking about? Dodge action. But I was like,
Here,
okay.
let me help you dodge. Is that like a push from a friend or something?
Honestly, it seems like a very useless action, much like the help action.
Yeah.
Like, why would you choose to
Yeah.
do either of those instead of like making an attack? It seems very edge case, but it has to be there to let you do it.
Oh,
Yeah.
let me define edge case.
Hey, exactly. I'll show you all edges of my shell. That's the edge case right there. I'm gonna dodge all over the place.
Gotta be careful of those edges.
Can we talk about your shell real quick?
Sure.
Like you had all this written down, or did it all come up? Like the picture of Shelvana?
Oh no. Shelvana
The
is
name,
a real
lore,
place.
the poems, the lines, all this Shelvana.
Oh, the stories he was telling, I was making up on the spot. The end of the poem thing I was constructing during the tail end of the Krampus fight. But yeah, like Shelvana, it's just part of his backstory.
Those rhyming things were friggin' hilarious.
It was the Grinch's fault.
Yeah.
This might come up in some of the questions or comments we've had, so I don't know if now is a good time. But yeah, listening back to it, I was dying. So many good one-liners
I think I prefer suboptimal play, like throwing the hole punch or the things out of the bag, right? You can
Yes.
do a lot better attack I could hit with my sword, well, unless I was rolling with advantage. You can use good weapons, but it's a lot more fun to do other stuff that doesn't do as much damage, right?
Yeah. Agreed.
And we did that quite a bit.
Well, like I think you said, Bill, that like you running it for the first time were so focused on all these things that once you got to listen back, like you really enjoyed.
Oh, yeah. I had a lot of fun running it, but a lot of the humor was lost on me because I was so focused and in my own head, thinking about what's coming next and, just sort of mildly stressed out the entire time, trying to, make sure that everything happened the way it was supposed to happen and that I didn't screw something up. So that really cuts down on your ability to sort of just be in the moment and laugh at the jokes and that sort of thing. But I mean, I'm so glad that we recorded it because being able to listen to it back was hilarious.
So now that you've done it, the next time you do it, are you going to be a lot more comfortable?
I hope so, because listening to it back, I was like, man, what a shame that I didn't enjoy this as much in the moment as I really should have, because it was hilarious. But my head was kind of elsewhere a lot of the time when funny things were happening. I was half paying attention to what was being said or what was being done and half thinking about what's coming next.
Yeah.
I felt that way. So I know what you're feeling. But yeah, I mean, I always, like, listening back to our episodes, even in the regular campaign, I always miss a joke here or there. Someone muttered it
Yeah.
under their breath and the Zoom call didn't catch it or something.
Or you're reading your spells or looking at what
Yes.
you're trying to figure out what you're going to do.
Trying to figure out my attack.
Yeah.
So the first mention that Leland does of taint, I totally missed that when we were playing. Oh, it was so bad. Oh, the second episode was dirty but funny. I don't know.
One point Leland said fuck, and then he went, oh, fudge, and then didn't beep out the fuck.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Look. Let me tell you. While the DMing went flawlessly for Bill, the editing on both parts,
Oh,
for me,
it's true.
was fucking terrible.
I'm sure. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No. So, I mean, part one, we had a bit of a problem with Emily's audio, but we luckily had the backup Zoom call. So, and that honestly ended up being like maybe the last 30 minutes, and it was all combat. So it's not like, it wasn't even like Emily was
didn't
like
even
role-playing
notice
through
at
the whole.
all.
Exactly.
I could tell.
Exactly.
Like, you redid your lines. I didn't notice.
Yeah,
but
I didn't notice either.
Well, she didn't redo her lines. I just had the file of the Zoom call. And
Oh,
used
sorry.
that
Okay.
And just pulled her audio from it. But then part 2, part 2's recording was like 3 hours and 45 minutes. And it was about, well, I don't know how long it ended up editing out. At least an hour edited out, just because Comet always edits pretty heavily. And we're playing a dungeon crawl, so there was a lot to go. But I got to about the 2 hour mark of the final cut. The first row got an error, lost everything, and then had to redo the whole fucking thing.
Oh,
so that was
I felt
that was
so bad.
awful. That really sucked. I don't even know what happened. Like, usually you can recover the project, but like I tried to recover the project and like it recovered it, but it silenced all the tracks. So I had like 2.5 hours of silence across like 10 different tracks. I was like,
so
wait,
weird.
what happened? Yeah, so that sucked.
That's awful. That's really sucks.
Yeah, that was rough. But I think like,
yeah.
I don't know, the final cuts still were great and they turned out fantastic. But yeah, it's honestly pretty lucky considering that's like the first real technical like
that's true.
problems, and it was barely even a problem. It was just time. It's not like we lost any of the master files or anything like that, or completely lost, the master files. So it was an ordeal, and that was why it didn't release as
If you'd like to
soon
pay
as we
Leland
wanted
for
it
his
to.
time, we have a Patreon.
Yeah, join our Patreon. If
that
losing
sucked.
projects and having to redo them over gets us Patreon, gets us patrons, we'll start doing it more often.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, part of this whole experience has given me even more gratitude and respect for how much work Leland puts into this show, because it's a lot of work to DM, and then Leland is the editor on top of that. So bravo.
Absolutely.
It was fun, but it's a lot of work. I don't know how that compares to an ongoing campaign. If a lot of the work is up front and then moving forward, you can sort of wing it from time to time. But
How did you prepare?
I had some good advice from a handful of people, and that was helpful. I'm trying to remember what exactly I was told. So just reading it over many times was like step one. I figure that's the most logical place to start, is just make myself as familiar as possible with all of the content. And then I didn't take a ton of notes down, really, which maybe I should have in hindsight to make myself feel more prepared. But I did try to think about a handful of different things. So one of my friends had mentioned who she DMs quite a bit. I think she DMs regularly for her group. I think she's the main DM. But anyway, she gave me some good thinking points about baddies. So think about sort of potential different things they might say ahead of time, which I hadn't really thought of before she said that. And after she said that, I was like, wow, how did I not think of potential dialogue that they might say? Because I'm not great at improv. I think Leland and probably everyone else here is much better at improv than I am. So that helped a lot because I did have things already, some of which was written down, a lot of which was just in my head, but different things that different baddies would say. That was really helpful. I'm forgetting who gave me this advice, but it was great advice. It might have been you, actually, Leland. But think about what, if it's an impactful baddie, like the Grinch or Krampus or like one of the bigger ones, think about what information they may have to give the party and potential few different ways that things might go as far as information being given to the party based on how the party approaches that interaction. So if the party is overly antagonistic and nasty right from the get-go, then they're maybe not going to get all the information. So that was a helpful sort of thought experiment to put myself through and get me more into the minds of these baddies. Because I think that's really helpful, and I think it does translate. It's worth spending the time trying to, in your own brain, make these baddies more believable and give them some unique motivations and characteristics and that sort of thing, because it will translate to it being easier to role play them, I think. So that was good advice, which didn't really end up coming to bear all that much, because there wasn't a lot of like RP and dialogue back and forth between the party and the baddies in this, as far as like getting information out of the baddies. So it didn't necessarily do, it wasn't directly, didn't directly come into play, but it still helped me in my mind get a feel for how, uniqueness for each one of them a bit.
Is that because of the way the module was designed, or just kind of how it played out? Because like basically going in, like we kind of knew what the plan was and what we're going in to interrupt, basically.
Yeah.
And then we found the evidence that backed up the plan. Like this is absolutely what they're doing. But was it just kind of the way you decided to handle it, or was the module written for us to like go in there and like investigate more? Or
yeah, I think that's exactly it. Is that this module wasn't really, there weren't mysteries to be solved really, or there wasn't really an opportunity for you to need to, try and get information out of one of the baddies in order to be able to solve what's like. It was pretty obvious what was happening. It was.
Well, and that was going to be one of my other questions for you, is like, did you like how the module was set up? What did you like? What didn't you like? What did you feel like was missing? Because I remember, like, Emily had fair critiques that she felt like stuff was missing.
Yeah.
Her first one shot, right?
I did not feel that way. I think from a perspective of like completeness. Now that being said, you guys didn't really stray too far from what was like the fairly obvious path. So had you have done that, maybe I would have felt more like that. Like I would have been a bit thrown out into left field and scrambling to come up with this, that, or the other that you come across if you hadn't have gone down the obvious path. But yeah, it felt like all the information that I needed was there in the module. And I overall enjoyed it. I enjoyed the prep for it, and I really enjoyed running it. I felt like as a first foray into DMing, it was very good. It wasn't overly complex. Yeah, no, I thought it was well done. I think, if anyone wanted to run this for their own group, I would recommend it. I think it was a good module. It doesn't overstay its welcome. I tend to not like a lot of puzzles I don't know if I would say just in one-shots or in D&D in general, or tabletop RPGs in general, and it wasn't heavy on a lot of like puzzle solving. I like it in theory, but I find anytime I've come across it in practice, it just sort of pulls me out of the story a little bit, or I don't know.
One-shots are going to probably be more, combat heavy.
Yeah.
Really. I think for the most part, because you're not going to get real deep into characters.
Right.
Which makes it easy to...
And to be honest, combat isn't my favorite thing about playing role-playing games either. I like the story and the role play, which there wasn't a ton of opportunity for that in this one.
We had lots of Shelvana stories.
I think we
I was going to praise ourselves and be like, I feel like our characters shined through in little moments, right? Like,
yes, you did. And what I should say, I guess, is that I keep approaching this looking inward at like my performance and how I did doing this. Had it not have been for you guys, there probably wouldn't have been much RP at all, but you guys were amazing and made it hilarious without me having to add much of anything, which was great.
I think that's part of the dynamic of our group. No matter what we do, there's gonna be roleplay. That's what we do.
It doesn't matter what system we're doing or what the fuck is actually going on.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna be telling a story about their homeland.
These 4 specific characters were just like
I
very
like these
interesting together.
I liked how Pyra was like our mom. Just like trying to keep us
Pyra's
on track.
She's like 66 years old.
No, she's like the estranged mother of our mother, so she's like our grandma, but has to take us in after some tragedy, and like doesn't want the kids, but she's all that the kids have.
But I mean, the genius behind the L and the S and the slashing of fingers and the
We could take little
shell
bits and make
stories
a
and deep
yeah,
blooding
so
and
I didn't even know Cloaca was an alcoholic until we got in and
there
found
we
something
go.
in the
You got
drawer,
some
right?
scotch.
Yeah.
Amelie is obsessed with fire and deep blooding and evil,
And horns.
scary things
The
Yeah.
horn.
in her mage hand.
I mean, so it's funny when you talk about the figure out like the NPC thing and like how they'll react to antagonism or whatever. I felt like actually when it came to Krampus, it was the other way around. He was the one being antagonizing to us, but we're like, wait a second, we want to join you, bro. Don't attack us.
That's so true.
We're like, we'll break the bonds. Come on.
Yeah. No, that was really funny to listen back to as well. Because I didn't really appreciate that fact until I listened back to it afterwards. And I was like, well, Amelie was pretty much relatively on board if Krampus had have
Yes.
done more talking and less attacking. And, the others might have been able to be convinced as well. And that's kind of what I mean, I guess, that there might be a lot more opportunity for RP in this if someone else were running, because I had envisioned myself doing a lot more RP when I was prepping for it. And then when the rubber hit the road, I think it was just a lot of anxiety that got thrown out the window. And I was just very focused on, the path ahead and getting from point A to point B to point C to ultimately conclude the thing and keeping it moving. Which leads to, I think, you not, taking your time and enjoying the RP and looking for moments where you can do more of that. So,
Yeah, I think that's something you will become more comfortable with. I don't think I'm there yet either, only having DM'd a couple times, but I am more comfortable than I was. But I still, after we play, I'm like, oh, shoot, I forgot to say this and this and this.
Oh, yeah, there was so much stuff that after we played, I realized that I screwed up or forgot, and then listening back to it, there were even more things I noticed. It is what it is, I'm not losing any sleep over it, but...
You're not screwing anything up. If nobody notices anything, it's the way the story played out, and only like when you fix something in your house and the drywall sucks over in that corner, nobody else ever pays any attention to that, right? You know it's there. So when you listen back, you hear, oh, that's where I should have did this thing.
But if you
everybody
DM
else had a good
and
time.
edit,
well,
you can change whatever you
nobody
want.
else knows.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
There's no wrong.
Well, I'm trying to think. If someone was a very avid listener, they would have been able to catch one mistake I made. That was which monster was it? I think it was one of the Grinch's robots that critted. Anyway, one enemy critted against one of you guys, and I don't remember what I did to tally up the damage, but on a subsequent turn, that enemy made a normal hit against one of you and did more damage than significantly more damage than what the crit was. So I did not calculate the crit properly.
Well, and
Yeah, I mean, Bill's math,
think
we should
there
know.
was. I think there was an Amelie attack where she didn't even roll the hit; she just rolled damage. So it came. It balanced
really?
out. Yeah, or one of us did it. There was an attack
That's
that
genius.
the damage went through and no attack roll was rolled. Because
I know what
because
I'm
I was
trying.
editing for the second time. I'm like, wait a second,
Yeah.
that just hit.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
But
so
it always
there were a
did.
handful of things like that I noticed. But it is, hey, it all worked out in the end. And does it really matter? Not really.
No, it doesn't matter if you can't technically knock out someone with a range attack, Mike. I'm throwing my shield and I'm pacifying people, okay? I'm gonna pacify every one of those motherfucking elves in this factory. God damn it.
Drain them of their blood.
bite their butts, eat their butts.
I think combat led to a lot of weird situations that, like John said, we came up with. Throwing a 3-hole punch, biting the candy cane, wanting candy, biting the butt, whatever.
The taint.
Yeah. Made for a good poem at the end of the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And the Christmas song, I would have loved to heard the Christmas song all the way through in 6-second increments. Right, just you put that all together.
Do a super cut of it.
Yeah, just a cut.
Well, I think it jumps around and sings sweet the whole place. I don't even think I said let it snow ever. It just said since there's no place to go.
I think you
I
did
don't know.
sadly. I think you were like you missed or that it wasn't candy in the candy cane and you were
Yeah.
sad about letting it snow.
A little too much taint to butt ratio on a bite, maybe.
Beginning to taste a lot like Christmas. I should have done. I actually, as Elena, thought of doing Incorrigible Christmas songs. Started writing Falsey Got Run Over by a Reindeer. It just never developed. It never happened. But
Start now, you might get it done for next Christmas.
Yeah, there you go.
walking home from True Call, Christmas Eve. Shaft can say there's no such thing as Santa. I had it. Anyway, Britt, next Christmas. Call me.
Yeah,
out.
you need to do that.
Britt asks us,
Did the ultimate power go to Bill's head?
well, that was
Was
David
he ultimately
Dave.
corrupted? Oh,
Oh, that
Sorry.
was Dave.
sorry. I think
it's okay.
scrolled up.
Super McDad.
Yeah, we can tackle Dave's question. No, the ultimate power did not go to my head, and I was not. Well, corrupted. I feel like is a scale, right?
Corrupted assumes he's not corrupted already.
It's a
Yeah,
spectrum.
I think he got corrupted when he started playing with us.
I'm pretty sure corruption is supposed to be binary. Either you're corrupted or you're not corrupted. Like you could be. I guess you could be on your way to becoming corrupted. So,
I think there's some gray in there.
Yeah, there's always everything's a scale.
Yeah, no, it definitely boosted my confidence a little bit and just proved myself that I can do it, which I think needed to happen because I was very, very nervous. And this is, I've been pestered many, many, many times to DM before this, and it's been many months coming before I finally agreed to it. And I ultimately,
We kind of forced you, to be honest.
yeah, more or less, yeah. I really didn't want to do it.
We didn't give you a choice. It will be recorded. It will be released.
We know what's best for you, Bill.
Yeah.
Just
Yes,
listen to
you
us.
do. Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to be stern with your bill.
You're all my moms, and you know what's best for me.
That's right.
So yeah, it was. And Britt asked, "Did I have fun?" Yes, absolutely. I had a blast.
And how much did you drink beforehand?
How much did I drink beforehand? I think I drank.
I think you chose not
very, very little, or maybe not any, because I wanted to have my wits about me, to be able to, think on the spot, and not forget things. Which that didn't matter because I forgot things anyway. Yeah, I think maybe I had one drink, if that. And as far as did I have fun, I kind of already answered this. I had a lot of fun running it, and even more fun listening to it back, which I hope will, as I DM more of that fun will translate to in the moment, as well as I can sort of, release some of my anxiety and just sit back and enjoy it more.
Yeah, I mean, you still get to role play as NPCs. I mean, look at Leland. Sometimes he's the only one playing NPCs.
Yeah, sometimes I'm the only one who's having fun.
Just going back and forth with himself.
Yeah. That was another comment that Britt had, was that she said she loved the voices, which
They were distinctly different. That's good.
yeah. What's his face? My Turtle. What's his name again?
Booch.
Booch.
Booch. Yeah.
Booch.
Booch was the first character that I committed to having a different voice for, and he really doesn't have a different voice.
He doesn't.
So this was officially the first time I actually did voices that do sound.
What about the Romanian guy?
You did really good, Bill, with the voices.
I did
What about
practice
your
ahead of time.
Romanian guy? What was he? Remember him?
Drudge.
Drudge.
Oh, I guess he had a little bit of an accent, didn't he? Yeah. But I kind of
For one episode.
half-heartedly did his accent and went in and out of it because I really felt awkward doing it.
Nah, he was just getting westernized. You know, when someone immigrates and they've been here for a while, they kind of lose their accent, right? Or they adopt the accent of the surrounding people.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all that's happened.
Yeah. And Britt mentions NPCs talking to each other, which is hilarious, and I would like to do one day if it kind of comes up organically. I think that would be really funny. I love it when Leland does it. It's one of my favorite things, is having Leland have conversations with himself. Oh, it's so
Try to
good.
get as many people in the party at one
No,
time,
we
and
gotta
then
really,
everybody else
really
back off.
start cutting back on that.
You got the.
I gotta find a way to get that cane off of Falter, and I tell you.
See, this is all part of my plan. Just tell Leland how much I love it when he's got multiple NPCs, and that's how I'll get rid of the cane.
I'm starting to learn my lesson. Like, we put Grimby on a boat, made also mute. Like, I'm starting to learn.
Good job, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The very observant listener will have noticed little tricks that Leland's taking to have.
Ask an NPC too many questions, and it's dead.
God.
Yeah. You can see the NPCs just like starting to sweat the more questions you ask.
Yeah.
Oh, no. What are
Trey
they
just had a
doing?
mild heart attack. I'm sorry he didn't make his death save.
This is already 4 questions. On the 5th one, I'm a goner. Yeah, no, it was fun playing the NPCs. Like I said, I had envisioned a lot more role playing from the Grinch and from Krampus. I did get out the sort of canned responses that I had made ahead of time for each of their characters, sort of like insults that took into account, a feature about one of them or a character trait or whatever. So that was fun to think of some nasty insults ahead of time and then get to shout them out in the middle of battle.
You happy jacked us. That
Yes,
was one of my favorite parts.
That was where I got my inspiration, was from Emily. Yeah, it was great. As for will I do it again? Yes, I would love to. It is a lot of work, and I was really stressed out like the week or 2 leading up to it, but it's worth it in the end, and I think it'll only get easier and easier. And I was talking to Skjom. We were playing Deep Rock Galactic, which is a ton of fun, by the way. Anyone who's listening who likes video games, great game.
DRG.
Rock and Stone. Anyway, we were playing in Discord, and he was kind of chatting about the Krampusnacht, because he had listened to it, or maybe he'd only listened to part 1 at that point. Anyway, and he brought up playing in Diamond Head. Yes, I would like to DM in Diamond Head. I think that would be a lot of fun. That's one of my New Year's resolutions, is to play more Diamond Head. Also, plug for Diamond Head. Anyone who's listening and isn't
Wait,
in
are
our
we
Discord,
plugging plugs again?
Well,
That's a
Yes.
good place to go try out something, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's a
like
group of friends.
probably should have TM for your first time there instead of before we
I know.
recorded it. It might have been
I know.
the proper course of action, but
I really should have.
Are we talking
Yeah,
about trying out butt plugs?
yeah,
No.
that's right. That's exactly what we're talking about.
try before
Alright.
you
Emily,
buy.
you did that, right?
I tried
You-
out a
you
butt
played
plug?
it. We're not going to talk about that right now, but Diamond Head, you played your one shot in Diamond Head, and I think you said on one of the after parties for yours was how different it was with the same.
Yeah, the
different
Happy
people,
Jack.
but
I played with people from Diamond Head first.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was really interesting to see how it was different when I played with you guys.
Yeah, so you did like a test run of the one shot with some folks from Discord first. Yeah.
Yeah.
That I wanted to do that, and I planned to do that, but just being a procrastinator, I wasn't ready in time to organize that, unfortunately. But you know what? I think it's kind of cool that I didn't, because that way, anyone who might have been a listener who I played with now just got to experience it for the first time listening to it. But anyway, I think it is a smart idea for sure. I had planned to do that and just didn't get around to doing it. But yeah, if you like playing D&D, we've got a very welcoming little group of people who plays from time to time in our Discord server. So hit up our website and you will find a Discord link there.
Public service announcement.
PSA.
Done.
Do we want to talk about the baby birding?
The baby
Yeah.
birding.
I'm gonna Google something
I had
real
forgotten
quick.
about it until I listened.
Yeah, same.
And actually, you know what? I think no, that's not what. So maybe it was Britt. One of the patrons, our lovely patrons. Thank you very much for patroning us. Anyway, because they got to listen to it a day before I did. So someone posted in Discord, and I didn't get the reference. Like baby birding, what?
I didn't get it either.
No,
I was part of it.
Yeah,
I was a
Really?
big bird.
yeah. John was Mama Bird.
Oh, I got it. And I was not
You got it, all right.
compliant in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was hilarious. I love it.
Not my idea.
That's another example of like in the moment, because I was in like business mode, I was actually a little bit annoyed at John for doing that. I was like, you fool, what are you doing? You're gonna kill Elena.
Oh, I didn't
What?
care at that point. It was like the fight was over.
Because John had said, what
He
did you
didn't
do?
know.
You,
He didn't know the
you
you
difference.
said you were just
randomly
gonna
drank
drink
one.
one of them first, and I was like,
Yeah,
you've
yeah,
got
yeah.
to be kidding me. Why are
Well,
you doing
he was like
that?
1 to 3 is going to be the eggnog,
Yeah.
and then you were like no 1 to 4.
1 to 4.
You gave it, and then he rolled a 6.
Chloe's an idiot.
1 to 4 was gonna be the one that I didn't care if he drank. So I stacked the odds in favor of him not drinking the wrong one, and he still did it anyway because of his role. But yeah, no, it was hilarious listening to it back. And that was, I think, maybe the moment where I thought to myself, man, you need to loosen up when you're DMing, because that was, in the moment, I wasn't finding it all that funny, but listening to it back, I realized how hilarious it was.
It was. There's a lot of talk about holes.
Yes.
There's a lot of use of our mouths and mage hands.
I liked the mage hand. That was
There
good.
was a turtle who was not a turtle. It was so funny though. You're like, wait, I have a cloak. But would dragonborns?
Yeah, we found out that. That was everybody
Do
learned something.
dragonborns have cloakas?
Yes.
We said yes.
Well, yeah, we
Yes,
said because they
they
lay
do.
eggs. We've already established
Okay.
that. So dragonborn or turtle, he can't get away from the cloaca.
Yeah, but I think Bebop was sort of giving Cloaca a little bit of hell about it, and then realized he had his own, right?
Yeah.
That part doesn't make it all the way into the shell. Is the problem.
There's parts. Yeah. There was mention. Anyway, there's mention of me Googling.
What's that? What's
Oh,
that
man.
called? There's a scientific word for things that have cloacas. They're extendable parts. I
Okay.
can't think of what it is.
Anyway, I want to see these. I want to see these characters back.
Yeah.
I thought that was really fun. John's character didn't annoy me for once.
Ah, I'm sorry. I feel like I failed in some way
I feel
now.
like you failed some sort of test.
She didn't have a tick. That's usually what sets you off.
Yeah. To be honest, Leland, what was your guy's name again?
Beep boop.
Booped. Boop Snoops. He was kind of annoying when he talked slow. It reminds me too much of real life.
So every time he talked.
Love you, Annie.
I like Bebop. I think that's one of my favorite
Bill's
characters.
busy Googling.
Bebop's great. Yeah.
He's busy
Yeah.
Googling cloaca penises, and I made a big diss. He didn't even hear me.
Sorry, what?
Nothing.
I just imagine we were in the middle of combat, and then Bebop would start telling a story, and Chloe would just stop everything she's doing just
To
to listen.
listen, like, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's how the elves
Yeah.
got the sneak attack.
Yeah, elves running up, and we're just sort of holding their head while I'm waiting for the story to finish. And of course, it goes absolutely nowhere, right?
Right.
And
yeah.
then that was it.
Yes, and then the story
think-
was over.
I think the cool, yeah, for whatever reason, these group of 4 characters played off each other in interesting ways. Because, like, in a lot of ways, Pyra would go along with listening to Beboop if it meant, like, Pyra's almost more concerned with the harmony within the group than, like she was acting annoyed, but I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think she would ever leave you guys. She feels like you're lost without her or something. There's like a, why am I a Pam every time? Just
Quit
the mama
playing
bird.
old ladies.
But I'm the baby bird in the whole situation of the birding. So,
Because you're smaller.
So,
guess.
male crocodilians use a specialized intermittent organ for copulation, which has been called either a phallus or a penis. It can be
So it has the
retracted
same
or
name
extended
as
from their
everything
cloaca.
else.
How did you forget that?
Yeah.
There's something
forget what it's
those
called.
creatures have.
There's
I'll
a
Google it.
word for it.
It's called a cock. Well, I can't believe I forgot that.
The penis. Oh, yeah.
The point
The
is
penis.
that I'm very let down that they didn't come up with a special name for cloacal penises.
Does Chloe have a penis?
Chloe's a female.
We'll
Isn't
have to
she?
find out.
He?
Well,
So
we haven't
Skjalm posted on
necessarily determined
Facebook.
Yeah.
Facebook? We have a Facebook?
We
Sure
do.
do.
Awesome.
Look, we haven't done this in a while. It's clearly showing.
I have all the praise for Bill's DMing. Is this the first step of a cunning plan to oust the current god of Aspara and take over as supreme ruler for all he purveys?
Absolutely
Good answer.
not.
Good answer. Good answer. Good answer.
Thank you for the praise, but no. I have no aspirations of ousting Leland. I love Aspara, and I love that Leland agree. I mean, I've said this before, but I friggin' love being part of this podcast with all of you. But the story that Leland has, I mean, I'm sure Skjalm is joking and I'm like turning it into a serious answer. But anyway, no, absolutely
The
not.
story is much deeper than you and I even remember.
Exactly. No, but it was fun, and I would like to DM again. I'd like to run a one-shot for you folks, especially because I love playing with you guys, but I'd like to DM in Diamond Head as well. I think that'd be a ton of fun. Anytime I've played in Diamond Head, it's been great. It's a great group of people. Yeah, Skjalm, oh, shoot. There were other things that he said when I was playing Deep Rock with him. I should have written them down.
Well, they're not on the record.
Let me think. There
Not
are
officially submitted.
a couple neurons that are still functioning in my brain. It's in there somewhere. I think he said, this is the sound of Bill trying to think.
Don't worry, it'll all be cut out.
He,
Should I
said-
put a warble sound over that too?
yes. I think the one piece of advice that he gave me was to be a bit more sure sounding and confident of when I decide something, instead of saying, oh, I think that this happens, or I think that maybe they'll do this, or no, maybe they'll do that, to have that sort of inner monologue with myself in my head. And then when I make my decision, no, I think, or maybe it's they do this or this happens because that's what happens. And he was saying that can help sort of with suspension of disbelief and believability. Because when you use the language of, and I'm paraphrasing what he said here, but I think he has a point. When you say, oh, I think maybe they'll do this or they'll do that, it sort of pulls the curtain back a little bit to remind your players that, oh, this is a fake character that Bill is deciding what they're doing. So that was I think the main point of advice that he gave me, which I think is good advice, and I think it's something that you can develop in time.
Sure. I mean, the best way to sell a lie is to walk into a place like you know exactly what you're doing, right? Like
Right.
Oh, Shaft
it's all part of the
comes
facade.
to mind.
Yeah.
Facade?
Facade.
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 Is that your last name, Shaft? Hi, Shaft Facade.
For the longest time, I had read that
like
word and thought it was facade.
Shaft Facade.
Yeah. Yeah, there were other comments that he had too, but I can't remember right now.
Skjalm is a fountain of knowledge as well, and
Of course.
he's very sage in many of his own ways.
He is, yes. Yeah, he's a smart dude. I think we had some stuff from Mike as well too. He says he emailed us, I think. Yes, he did. And he said, I want to tell Bill he's doing a great job DMing for the first time. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, thank you.
Oh, you just want to read the compliments. Huh.
I mean, there's little else in life that brings me as much joy as...
Why does it make me feel so uncomfortable?
When Bill gets praised,
Yeah.
it makes you feel uncomfortable?
Yeah, she's only happy when I'm being torn down piece by piece.
That's a good loving wife there.
Marriage.
Yes. So Mike goes on to say, great explanations and descriptions and use of yes and, which I did kind of try to do. I think there was maybe only 1 or 2 times where listening back, I thought to myself, you maybe could have got a little bit more creative instead of just saying, no, nothing happens. Like when Pyra bit the candy cane.
I
just
thought
said,
that was
no.
funny that it was not candy.
No, yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah,
It makes
yeah.
sense. Why would they club people with an actual
Why
candy
was
cane?
it called a candy cane if it wasn't candy?
Well, because it was shaped and it was like a candy cane replica, only huge, but it wasn't actually candy. It was
Did
just...
we actually call it a candy cane?
Yeah.
I think I did.
Yeah.
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 False advertising.
makes sense.
Facade. Facade.
You believed the facade.
Yeah. Gotcha.
What would have happened if, like, you could have made something happen when I bit Krampus's cane? Like
Well,
at the end.
actually, thank you for reminding me. Listening back,
you
I thought
did
to
do
myself, what... I never told you guys actually what the cape from the Grinch that Amelie picked up.
Right.
You rolled like a 19 or something on your Arcana check, which, I mean, what more do you need than to get the answer for what it is? And I didn't tell you what it was.
Oh my
I just
gosh.
told you it's magical, but you get like a very foreboding feeling about it, as though wink, wink, it's probably cursed. But I didn't. I probably should have told you exactly what it is
Did
and
you
what
put
it
it on?
does.
What is it?
No, that's
Now's the
what
time.
identify is for. You can't just roll. No, I think that was fine. I think
Can't just-
You think it's fine?
I
You
think
can't
okay.
just
Plenty of
spoon feed us
information.
like a bunch of
That's
baby
literally the
birds.
function of the identify spell, right? Like that's what.
Right,
That's
okay.
the purpose. That's the purpose.
You can't
So,
baby bird us all
You know
the
what?
info.
You're right, Leland. I didn't make any mistakes.
So what is it,
I
though?
love all I care about is here, and then I'm right. I don't.
Exactly.
Anything else can come after. You can say whatever you want.
So yes, I'm gonna tell you guys what, and I think Amelie's from Diamond Head, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, if you want, you can. She can keep that and use it in Diamond Head. Here's where
Ooh.
editing comes in, because I meant to have this up in front of me and I don't.
Here's the part where you say editing comes in, but then Leland leaves it
Yes.
in to
Yes.
spite us.
Exactly.
Spite, laziness. It's all the same.
Leland, you are many things, but I don't think you're lazy.
If he leaves it in, I think he was right to do it.
That's all I care about. And also the first thing I think of when I do leave it in.
That you're right?
Yeah, it's all about maintaining the facade. The facade.
Facade. The facada.
You friggin' jerks. Now it's gonna be left in because there's been jokes. I know how this works.
You paused too long.
Especially a joke where Leland sounds funny. That stays
Yes. Oh yeah, it's guaranteed.
in. Like if
no
I
way
make a
that's being
joke,
cut.
could
That
be
is a
cut.
surefire way. The amount of jokes that I have edited out from Elena that I didn't think
Versus
landed
yourself.
could fill an entire terabyte hard drive. Like,
There's a few.
So dastardly. I
You're
love
like, didn't land, gonna skip it.
silence.
They laughed at me, everything's staying in.
it. Yeah.
No, with me, not at me. You guys never
sorry,
laugh
sorry.
at me, right?
Of course
Yeah,
not.
sure. Right.
It's always
exactly.
with-
Uh-huh.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yes. You're
Yes.
right, Leland.
Yes. Good answer. Good answer. Good answer. I keep doing the Family Feud.
Yeah, and the board says.
Survey says
on the
Leland's
board.
right.
You
Yay!
got 120 points on the board. You got 5 minutes on the clock. Wait, it's not 5 minutes. 30 seconds? 30 seconds on the
It's
clock.
30 seconds.
5
yeah.
minutes. That's the bebop version.
Okay, now is about the point
Okay,
where I would
search
start editing
engine
some stuff out here,
optimization.
buddy. What is happening?
Freaking go.
back to it next after.
Yeah.
You jerks. Okay, I got it.
All this for a cape.
Okay,
Cursed one.
so the way they're described is actually kind of weird. That's why it looked like the lights went out behind my lifeless eyes.
Like a
So it calls them.
eyes.
I didn't notice anything.
Yeah. What are you talking about? You look the same.
I've been that way for years, Bill.
You got the same dumb look on your face you always have.
That's right.
So it calls them the staff of Krampus' skull and spine. But only one of them is a staff and one of them is a cape. But anywho, I'll read you the description for it. This unusual armor and weapon combo is said to be the remains of a demon from the far north. Captured in a raid on a frozen stronghold filled with elves, as we know. So the helmet and staff are cursed, requires attunement. The helm itself grants +1 to AC, and the staff functions as a +2 halberd. The helm grants the wearer the ability to cast a 3rd level illusion spell Fear once per day. And they can also know if any creature viewed through the eye holes of this helm are naughty or nice. DM's discretion. On the 12th day after attunement, the wearer becomes uncontrollably compelled to eat the flesh of human or demi-human children. If none are nearby, gnomes or halflings will do.
On the 12th day of Christmas, my
Fire
king
Ranger,
gave
bud.
to me demi children and a brownie.
So, that being said, I'm not sure Amelie wants to use them, but that's what they are.
I think it'll be a great Diamond Head experience.
Oh god.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Just
I don't
to
think
pull that
other
out.
people want me to use them.
I mean, I've got a character that has a hot dog suit.
What?
What?
Okay.
I can't remember where we picked it up, but every once in a while I'm scrolling through my inventory and I go, oh yeah, I got that hot dog suit I can put
Interest
on.
is peaked.
Now, it's usually doesn't come into play because that usually just makes people want to eat you anyway.
I was
so.
going to say, if there was one thing to make Pyro want to bite your butt, it's putting yourself in a hot dog suit.
You got a mustard butt.
Any other questions, items, for things we can challenge Bill on? Let's complaint department. What did we hate about this? Let's talk about it.
Ooh, spicy.
It was too much combat for me. I mean, yeah, I was playing a pacifist, but that's not actually the reason.
This is Leland talking.
It was very combat heavy. It was
Yeah.
more combat
I didn't mind
heavy
it.
than I had envisioned when I read it through and when I was planning. And I think that's where part of it comes into play, what I had said earlier, that I had a lot more RP planned, which just kind of didn't come to fruition.
Right.
I actually don't have any complaints other than that as well. Like, it did feel like one fight to another, but
Yes.
like, what? That's even some people's style.
It is. Yeah, some people like to play that way, and that's what they're in for, but I don't think it's our main
group
flavor.
prefers some role play, but that doesn't mean that the module wasn't good for you as a first experience, you know?
Yeah.
Do you think the combat like added or like took away some tension for you? Because it was like,
Yeah, one of the things you had said before we played was like combat. You had no worry about combat.
Yeah. This maybe isn't right, but honestly, my perspective for a long time with combat, from the perspective of a DM, is that I don't think it's wrong to fudge die rolls. I don't think it's wrong to fudge enemies' HP pool to suit the flow of combat. You know, if combat's going way too easily, well, all of a sudden they have an extra 20 HP. The party doesn't have to know that. Or vice versa. You know, if a TPK is about to happen, well, maybe that big bad just lost 20 HP and the next hit's going to kill them or, you know, bring them close to death. So when I think of combat, that's what I think would be most stressful, is balancing it to make sure that it's not way too easy, or on the opposite end of things, that you don't just obliterate the party. So the fact that I'm willing to fudge some numbers, which maybe isn't right. But I'm sure there are people out there who disagree with that stance, but that makes it less stressful for me because I know that I can sort of improvise to make the combat the right challenge level that I feel like it should be. So yeah, I think had it have been a lot more role play, maybe it would have been a bit more stressful for me, despite the fact that that's what I tend to like most about playing RPGs is the role play.
Yeah, well, with the more role play comes the more like forking paths sometimes, right? Like,
yes, yeah, and that's what scares me because I'm not confident in my abilities to improv. Like when I'm on the spot, my brain goes to mush and I freeze up, and my creative juices and that sort of thing really stop flowing.
But you can use NPCs and role play to direct the players to back on the track that you want them on by, they're going the wrong way. They're going to really screw this up. Throw in another elf that runs past them down the hallway. So, hey, they're going to chase it, right? That kind of thing. So, yeah. But, I think you did a good job role playing the elves. They all sound like they're from New York or something, right?
Did they?
I can't remember.
It wasn't intentional, but
no, I thought it was funny. Oh, it was good.
I have a dislike about that I'll bring up. I felt like in a handful of different times while I was listening back, I thought to myself that I was kind of railroading, or giving a lot more information and not than was necessary without giving you an opportunity, without giving the players and their characters an opportunity to decide whether they were even going to try and investigate to get that information. Sometimes I just handed it to you guys, even though you didn't ask.
I think I do remember you saying at one point in time, if someone wanted to investigate this, they might find out something. But
yes.
that
okay.
happens because your brains, these fuckers might just ignore it completely and go the other direction, and this is an important key, and you're sort of prepping that, or what's the word I'm looking for? Prompting them.
Yes.
In your mind.
Well, it's also like you have the full picture of the actual room, like in this, it's like when we were in the administrative office of the Grinch, and the stuff on the desk. Like, that it's like, you're right, John. It's more of a prompt than like a railroad. But honestly, in this particular module, there was nowhere else for us to go. Like, we had to go through the conveyor belts to the back, to the stairs, up top, to the boss office, and then to Krampus. Like, there was literally nowhere else to go. Like, maybe the only thing I can think of we could have done differently is when we first went into the place, instead of going through the front door, we could have tried maybe going through a back door. But we got to get in there. And we certainly weren't going to scale up to the fucking snow globe at the top because we had no idea what the hell it was on the bottom. So I don't think we were railroaded anyway. It was just the nature of the module. It was a dungeon crawl.
That's the difference between a one shot and a campaign. One shots are by nature more railroady.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have we said discussing one shots, like the players at the table have to know that they're there to do a job. Like, that's the point of like, we've already the preamble of them figuring out what they want to do and going to do it is done. We are now doing it. That's what a one shot is. You are doing it. You're doing something. You're not figuring out what you want to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so a one shot is like a picture in a coloring book. The picture's already there. You can color outside the lines and choose your colors, but the picture's there. And a campaign is like a connect the dots where you're creating the picture and coloring it in as you go.
A blank book.
It's a blank page, baby.
Yeah.
That was deep, man.
Yeah.
I'm tripping out.
You must have done a lot of coloring on your vacation.
I didn't do any, but it came to me. It came to me.
Just came to me in a feverish dream. Yeah, I think that was something I noticed listening back, and it made me think that, hey, if I were ever to DM a campaign, I would need to work on that, because that was just my natural instinct. Like, I think most of the times when it happened, I wasn't necessarily consciously thinking, Sometimes there was a bit of what you said, John, where I was like, oh, this is important or whatever, I'm going to make it obvious so that they look. But a lot of the time it just happened, and I wasn't really necessarily doing it intentionally. It was just how, I don't know. I didn't realize until afterwards that like I took opportunity away from you guys to be able to do some investigation checks or whatever. I kind of just said in a couple instances, like, whoever wants to give me an investigation check can be able to read what this is or see what that is, sort of thing, versus like,
Oh yeah.
maybe no one even wanted to do an investigation check. So
Yeah, but I mean, like you said, though, like, again, it boils down to what this module was. Like, we weren't there to figure out what the plan was. We were there to stop the plan. We were there to color a picture that we already came upon. But I thought of something, another complaint that I have. So, you all are fucking terrible at theater of the mind.
Yeah.
Seriously awful at
But
theater
you've
of the
spoiled
mind.
us.
No, you were clearly all
All of
spoiled,
us?
but yes, all of you are bad.
I need
There-
a map,
I-
Leland.
Well, apparently you've all been spoiled by having a grid-based map, because there was a lot of like reiterating where people were that I had to cut out of some of the final cuts. That I
Because
felt
I
like,
didn't
wait,
know.
I'm not confused at all where people are. Like, what's going on?
I just like to ask the DM, am I within 5 foot? Or am I,
Yeah, but like
within this
2 rounds
range,
ago,
so I
the
know
dude
what I
walked
do?
up to you and punched you. So yes, you're within 5 feet of it. Like, that's how I felt. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to
Okay,
like shit on
so-
everybody.
No,
there
that's
were a
fine. That's
couple
that's
times-
that's.
There were a couple times I felt like somebody was in the wrong place.
I thought like people moved, and that's why I'd ask. If I move, do I get an opportunity attack against me?
Right.
Did that guy move and go someplace
In all
else?
fairness, Leland, you're used to playing several different characters and having all of this going on in your mind. A new character in a room that was just described to me while I'm trying to look at what I can do with my character, while I'm listening, I can't.
Sure. And there's nothing wrong with needing something reiterated for you, obviously.
he just thinks we're all dumb. That's
Yeah,
what
it's
I'm
fine.
taking
No,
out of
I think
this.
it's a
It's
fair
fine.
point.
I'm
I
not going to
visualize.
say you are right, Leland.
I don't think he's wrong.
I think Leland's partially right.
How I should have phrased that is, I feel like I had no problem visualizing everything that was going on and keeping track
Okay,
of where
Mr.
everything
DM,
was.
for how many years now?
Okay, so what I'm taking from this is that I did a great job explaining things, and everyone except for me is dumb.
I think there's two things, right? There's the combat version of it,
Yeah.
where you're actually all those things matter from a mechanic standpoint, and then there's the visualization of the room and the things that are going on around you and those kind of things. Non-combat are two completely
Yeah.
different things.
Totally. But the other thing about Theater of the Mind is, when it comes to combat, yes, you need some structure even in Theater of the Mind as far as movement and range goes, but really you don't need as much structure, right? Like, it could just turn out like, okay, I want to charge up this elf in this cubicle. Then that's something like the person writing the game would be like, yeah, you can reach him and hit him, even if maybe they
True.
couldn't. Because I know, I mean, and maybe this is a little trick that I do, and I'm rigging the game whenever I have or we do happen to do Theater of the Mind stuff. Generally, actually, I have a little doodle that I have keeping track of approximate distances and where. So I'm kind of
cheating.
rigging the game when I say that.
Yeah.
So
You're a cheater.
So like I have
Theater
something,
of
but
the
like
mind on paper,
even
son.
even with, well, that's my theater, and I'm putting my mind onto it. But even with that though, it's like that's where also some of the improvisation.
I see through your fake head.
And like
Moving
Bill
the
was
goalposts.
like Bill was saying, yes, you move literally you do. You're right. You move the goalposts, like you were saying with fudging die or adding or taking away HP and that kind of stuff. That's also part of it, I guess. And when you're playing that style of game, but that style of game is definitely not for everybody. I know in my home group, one of my friends that we play with, like, she has a terrible time at visualizing just physical spaces, just descriptions of physical spaces. Like it's just not the way her brain works. Like she just is unable to do it and needs something drawn out, even if it's like crude drawing of what this approximation of like a cliff face or the way something is facing, or yeah, Elena's manically pointing to herself, but
Vigorously pointing.
and that's
Picture Kramer and Seinfeld.
that's why obviously it's like there's nothing wrong with needing something reiterated. But I just felt like I was just a lot better than all of you. So.
I did notice listening back that I thought there was a lot more asking about where's this, where's that, how far am I from this, and I'm not hearing it. So
well, okay.
Did Leland cut some of that?
I hope though that my bias towards that didn't impact someone's listening experience too, because maybe a listener is also very much like that and they have trouble visualizing it in their head even when they're listening. Maybe somebody out there could have used some of that reiteration that other players at the table could have used. So my editing bias in that regard may have completely fucked up someone's listening experience.
I think you didn't have much of a choice in editing it out though, because most of what you edited out was everyone getting angry at me and calling me an idiot and lazy for not having made maps.
I'm just
By
saying, I
everyone,
ran a
you
one
mean
shot with
Elena.
maps. Emily ran a one shot with maps. There's maps. Could have made maps.
It may have been mostly one person, but yes.
I really do struggle with it. It's fine. I should work on it though.
I would have struggled as much if the roles were reversed for sure, because my brain isn't great at that either.
I mean, I know when we were on the conveyor belt, I kept thinking to myself, we're moving down the conveyor belt, me and the elf.
Same.
And where are we going to where it falls off the end or whatever? And I know I asked a couple times, where am I in relationship to this elf? Or what's on the ground? Which one's closer to me?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And
Well, also, like, okay, so without Bill interfering with an answer, how do each of the other three of you, how do you picture right now that first factory area and the way those conveyor belts are arranged? Because I know I have a clear picture of what I think it looks like.
I have them zigzagging everywhere.
so
Who knows?
the way Bill described it, they were all in a row and they were coming down and falling off the end. Like they were coming out of the back of the factory. They were all lined up. And Chloe was going down, smashing them, she was going down the end of this row and breaking the machine every time.
Okay.
Like, what
Emily?
movie is it? Die Hard 2, where the suitcases in the airport are all over the place? That's what I pictured.
I thought it was doing like a snake thing. It would come down, go over, come down, go
Yes,
over,
that's
come down,
the
go
picture
over.
I had as well.
And
Same.
it was all one, but it was also oriented or 90 degrees.
Like
to
rotated
what,
90 degrees.
When we actually saw the map, it was...
So you thought it was one conveyor belt just moving all around, not multiples?
Yeah, I thought it was like Emily said, a big like snake, like left, down, right, down, and then like because I was picturing like assembly line, right? Like
Right.
elves positioned putting a single piece on, like that's that elf's
Yeah,
job
and then
to
it would
put
go to the next
arm.
position.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was picturing.
So
Yeah.
when we went in, he described it, I thought, as multiple conveyor belts in a row, is what I thought he said.
Yeah,
Or maybe I'm wrong.
I think you're right.
that's how
I
it
think
clicked in my mind.
Yeah, I think there's supposed to be multiple outputs, but I didn't.
I did
picture
not do
that.
a good job of describing those conveyor belts.
So what is it?
I am guilty as charged there. Well,
He showed
according
us
to the
a map.
module,
I didn't listen to your description. I walk into a workshop in the North Pole, and it's going to be fantastical all over the place, defying gravity.
But we're not in Santa's elves workshops.
Yeah.
We're in
Okay,
Krampus's.
true.
I pictured a
workshop,
big-
right? Like this is
Yeah,
industrialized.
minimal amount of
like,
money.
Yeah. A big, tall
like
ceiling,
minimum wage
metal
worker,
walls.
below minimum wage
Smoke
worker,
everywhere.
huffing fumes, making
Yeah.
toys, right? Like not no ventilation.
Yeah.
It's like
exactly.
Amazon.
Nasty.
So in the module, it is like a serpentine, like a S snaking conveyor.
Oh.
Yeah, but I totally screwed that up. There are several things that I screwed up that
Hey,
having maps
half of
would
us
have
got the right
fixed.
image.
Yeah.
It's the last time I pay attention to Bill.
50% still a fail.
The better half has a better imagination.
Yeah, but the problem is the 50% that got it wrong, they didn't pick the same thing. So that's really
Right.
20, right? You know what I mean? Like
Because of imagination.
That's right.
The
Yeah,
more
you
dream.
you all were supposed to walk through the front doors, and the workbenches were supposed to be the first thing that you encountered, but they ended up being on the other side of the conveyor belts.
Yeah.
There was supposed to be a big Christmas tree in there, which ended up disappearing into the ether. Didn't exist.
You mentioned that, I think because we had 2 sessions, right? And I think you said before we started the second session, it was supposed to be a big Christmas tree here. And when I walked out the door, I almost said, as Chloe, "Oh, this looks like a great place for a Christmas tree."
Shoulda.
And
That would've
then
been hilarious.
something happened, and we moved on.
You forgot. Yeah. No, that's a big regret of mine. Is it wouldn't have taken me that much time to draw up some maps. I should have done that. And it would have made it easier on my part because I would have had a visual reminder and I wouldn't have screwed things up like I did. And it would have been a lot easier for those who find it harder to visualize as well. But
I don't think it was that bad. I think described it fine. We just had a little bit of question and answer back and forth.
Reading between the lines, I heard John saying, I think Leland is just bitching too much.
Oh, well, you can always assume that, but that wasn't what was happening here.
no, I think it turned, like, I think between the amount of questions that happened live compared to the final edit where there was still some clarification here and there, but a little bit less than when we actually played, I think it's probably ended up being a decent compromise so that people won't be annoyed at how many times things are reiterated, but also the people who struggle with spatial imagination should have enough.
Well, man, down
hopefully.
in that factory fight, there were a lot of elves that we were fighting. Like, there was like 4 or 5 of them down there. That is a lot to keep track of.
Yeah, and I think there were supposed to be more, actually. There were also supposed to be a bunch of checks made for traps, which I forgot about. Well, I made John do it once with Cloaca, and that's that little
Train.
train engine.
Yeah. I think the only thing that frustrated me for the combat was at the very end when Krampus was popping
Oh,
between
teleported.
That was really frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Took us about
that was a nasty
10
little
rounds
trick.
before we were like,
I'm
well,
gonna
let's
use
each take 'em
grease,
out.
and he's going to teleport away from it.
I think that's why I got at the end of this one. I'm just going to stay here.
Yeah.
That was smart. Yeah, because that invalidated that ability of his. Also, those presents, they're supposed to do AoE damage.
Oh,
Yeah, Bill was
Yeah.
telling me about that after.
well, that would have been very useful for us when we eventually got the bags, really.
And that wasn't like me hamstringing it so that the party didn't die. That was me forgetting that they were supposed to do AoE damage.
But I think in general, you were afraid of killing us.
I was, yes. I did go a bit easy on you guys. Like if I had have played it exactly by the books, I think several of you probably would have went down.
Pyra, I think, took the most damage.
Yeah, she was always going to
Yeah.
get
Down twice.
I was always
weren't you?
running up, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it says it's balanced for either level 5 or level 6, and I think all of you were level 5, weren't you?
I was 6.
Yeah, I was
I
6.
was 5.
Well, I think actually exactly what it says is that it's balanced for a group of level 6, but level 5 could work as well.
Well,
So,
also,
That might be part of it.
the party wasn't exactly optimized. I mean, literally, Bebop was doing nothing. Like, his shield does no damage. And because I'm multi-class, he only has 1 attack. Compared to Chloe's
No
double.
one is
Like, Chloe
forcing
was
you to
putting out-
multi-class. Here, let's talk. Let's
I'm not.
let's put this
I'm
out
not
there.
complaining. I'm not complaining about his build because I like Bebop.
because
and
you love
anybody that's
multi-classing.
been listening to this show knows that I don't give a fuck about optimizing my characters in any way, roleplay wise or combat wise. But I'm just saying, like, that does throw off the balance too. When
Right,
you know
for
you
combat,
have
yeah.
dumb players that make stupid characters.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
I just wanted to be a total Captain America. That's all I wanted.
Bebop was pretty hilarious. There were so many funny moments. I really, really like how it all turned out. And I mean, I have you guys to thank for that because I didn't, the things that I had planned in my mind were a lot more funny than how it ended up rolling out. But I think that's just, comes with practice. Next time around, I will get to do more of the things that I have planned and not forget about them in the moment.
Well done. I'm glad that now
Yes, well done.
all of us
Good
have
answer, good
now
answer.
run a game, and soon to be multiples, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was great. I'm glad you guys all forced me against my will to do it.
Great, we'll do it again.
not so
We will
often.
definitely force you to do it again.
To be clear, you're bad people for doing it, but in hindsight, I'm glad you did.
Just take it like a baby bird, bro. Trust the process.
Okay, Bill, we're wrapping it up. Anything else? Any more questions or anything?
I mean, there were the odd little comment here or there, but I think we kind of captured most of it. I don't think there were any questions we missed.
Thanks everyone for responding. We had a good amount
Yeah.
of responses this time, so thank you.
Yeah, that was fun. It's nice to get feedback from folks. We appreciate it. It's nice to know that you like what we're doing. Anything coming up? I don't think there's anything on the immediate docket.
Aspara will be returning soon.
Yes. We
return.
have our next play session scheduled. I don't know exactly when this one's coming out, but it'll be happening either before this comes out or shortly after. So we're all excited for that. It was nice to take a little bit of a break. I know we've all had some stressful stuff going on over the past few weeks, but we're excited to get back to Aspara.
We have other one-shots going on for patrons and other stuff coming there. So if you want to check out some really cool stuff coming up there, join the Patreon.
Yes. Yeah. I know we've plugged the Patreon before, but I think it's every patron tier gets access to the campaigns, right?
No,
or is that wrong?
Fireball
5 and up.
Fireball and up.
Fireball and up. Okay.
Fireball,
It's nice now that like there's
we have a
pretty
backlog.
significant backlog
Yeah.
of content too.
That's true.
Which is pretty
Yeah.
cool.
And lots of bloopers.
Every tier gets bloopers. You can, if you want those bloopers, there's a whole whack load of them.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's worth it
Yeah.
for the bloopers.
That's true. Yeah.
Hell,
Yeah,
the last blooper you put out, wasn't that like 10 minutes
The
long?
mega
That was
the
an entire
last
episode.
the last 2021 blooper was like 10 minutes long.
Yeah, it was worth it though. It was so good. Ah. Spoilers, teasers. Huh?
Yeah, so M's running the current one shot, and so far it's been a lot of fun. So we're gonna be playing more of that and releasing more of that.
Yeah. You gotta go see a man about a wolf.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wolf.
Someone's making
Wolf.
Someone's wolf.
A wolf.
How do you
Hey,
how do you
Kentucky
say
is
more?
fine.
How do you say if there were more than one of them? What would they be?
Wolves.
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 Interesting,
Wolves.
because you lose a little bit of the
Yeah.
accent when you,
You say it
the
right
plural.
if it's plural.
Poor Emily, we're picking on her.
Oh, poor
We love
Emily,
you.
my
Yeah,
ass.
that's
I
a
never
wolf.
get a fucking poor Leland.
Yeah, you don't need it. You're
Caverns,
fine.
come on! Caverns!
You're a hardened, steel encrusted.
I'm a master of theater of the mind.
I mean, Emily basically wanted to sign off, and Bill just keeps talking. He's the
Yeah.
DM now. He just doesn't shut up.
I'm the DM now.
So the power has gone to his head.
Yes.
There you go.
All right.
David,
Answers your
Dave.
question.
All right, it's my job to shut everybody up. So, I've been Cloaca and John.
I was Emily and Amelie.
I'm Leland Steele and Bebop.
That was my turn. You took my
No, doesn't
turn.
Bill go before you?
No, I go before Bill.
Oh, sorry.
This is
That's my B. I thought I was nailing it because Bill has to finish it because he was running the game.
It's
You're up,
totally
Elena.
fun. I'm Elena.
And I played Pyra.
And I've been your DM. Happy adventuring.
What's your
What
name?
was your name?
Look, I tried to replicate Leland, and obviously it can't be replicated.
But he says his name.
It actually is pretty easy to replicate.